Hey everybody, this is Annie Noodle and we are here to do some art stuff. Whee! So let's get going. Well, hey everybody, it is now voiceover Annie Noodle and I am working on a commission. And this commission is actually very similar to other things that I want to work on for other projects in that it is a kind of nature journal page. And that's gonna tie into like I want to start doing more scientific illustrations like I spoke of in my previous videos. I haven't actually gotten to that yet, but it's on my list. So this particular project is gonna be in 5 parts, and this is just part 1. And this this critter is like America's version of Mothra. So I got commissioned to do 5 different cryptids, basically, and so this is the first one. And I had kind of free reign to do whatever I wanted as long as I was doing something that was like a nature journal page, and as long as I made the critter according to specs. I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna make this American version of Mothra. I love Mothra and Godzilla. If you watched my studio tour, you will have noticed that I collect Godzillas and other ridiculous looking plastic toys. Yeah, I'm looking around me at them right now. Yeah, so I spent a lot of the time on this project was just me thinking about what I wanted to draw, like what parts, because nature journaling is about like illustrating what you see a species doing and different points of an animal's life or, a plant's life and what it eats, what it interacts with. So I I just had no idea what I wanted to do, and it took me forever to get started. You can see that I am working on something that looks a lot like a pine cone, and it is in fact modeled after a sequoia pine cone, which is tiny. If you saw the pine cone in my intro, I think that is from a sugar pine. A sequoia pine cone is 2 inches tall. It is tiny. Yeah. So and I'm going in with water over what was my usual platinum brown, I think it's a sepia ink, which is waterproof once it's dried. So the reason why I was able to blend it is because I went in before it dried. Haha, I'm sneaky. And in case you're wondering why I didn't use any of my super cool new black walnut ink that I just made, I just want to reiterate that black walnut ink is not light fast and it's not waterproof, and those can be good qualities when you want them. But I didn't want them for this because I know this page is going to be displayed, so I don't want it to fade quickly when it's exposed to light. So that is me trying to get cat hair out of the nib of my pen for like the 50th time that day. It's a fun game I play with my cat. You can also see that I have been using my Blackwing pencils a lot, and I love them, and I am still on a no-buy, which is good because Blackwing just came out with like D20 engraved Blackwing pencils, and I want some like so much, but I can't get any because I'm on a no-buy. And if you don't know what a D20 is, I play Dungeons and Dragons, and a D20 is a 20-sided die. So just in case there's anybody out there, I know not everybody is into that. So I really want them though. They're really neat. And they're very nerdy and they would make me happy. So maybe they'll be around next year, or maybe I'll happen upon one in the wild someday. You never know. I'm not going to worry about it. So I wanted to keep in mind while I was doing this project, and I want to continue to keep in mind as I go through the other parts of this project, that This is supposed to be a journal, like one that you would carry out in the field with you and take your field notes and do sketches. And while it could have layers and look like maybe I did some finishing up of the sketches back in the studio once I was done in the field, I didn't want it to be like really well rendered, and I wanted it to maintain like a sketchy look. So I am going to continue to keep that in mind as I progress through these pages and all of the rest of the parts of this project. And it's not super easy because I really like to render stuff. So I'm trying really hard, especially because, like, you know, when you're doing a commission piece, you're like, okay, here I go. I'm going to make this really nice thing and it's going to be very well finished and everything's going to be perfect. And you're like, wait, no, that's like the opposite of what I'm trying to do right now. I don't want this to be perfect. I want mistakes almost. I want to not necessarily write super neatly. I want sketchy lines. I don't want perfect color. Yeah. And it has not been easy to do. It's been very hard. But I've been having a lot of fun with these. And I will probably be doing videos of all 5 of the animals, the cryptids that I'm doing for this project. Just not one right after another, so you'll probably see other videos mixed in. And if you ever commission me for a project and you want me to do a video of it, I would be happy to do that. Like, I kind of think it's fun. If you want to see the process, I am happy to show you. Okay. Is it time for a kitty break? Yes. Mm-hmm. And then we had to have a kitty break. But like, because he would not leave me alone. And oddly enough, like right before I got to that part in the voiceover, another one of my cats came up and was like, no, I will not be denied. You will pay attention to me now. So here you can see I'm being a lot more sketchy, and I really like how this turned out. So part of the reason why doing projects like this is so fun is because you get to imagine like the fictional life story basically behind the critter that you're, making up as you're going along. And part of the fun of that is doing research into like a real life version, right? Like, so if I'm going to do a cryptid moth that's based on the traditional classic Mothra, I'm going to look up Mothra stuff for sure. But I'm also going to look up a lot of stuff about what do moths eat, where do they like to hang out, what eats moths, what do their various cocoons look like. And it was really fun. I'm a big science nerd, and so like an excuse to like look up more science stuff is, yeah, makes my day. Also, it is finally warm out, so if you guys hear people yelling in the background, it is actually my neighbors. I just want you to know that my neighbors are very loud, and I think they might be potty training a dog because they bring their dog outside like I don't know how many times a day, and then just say go potty 8 million times for like 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm like, wow. The first time they did it, the dog is new, obviously, if they're potty training it. And I was so like, I had no idea what the sound I was hearing was because it was so repetitive and it just kept going on that I thought there was like some weird mechanical thing beeping in my house. And I just like had to keep walking around until I finally got like close enough to like my door to be like, oh, that's a neighbor telling their dog to go potty over and over and over and over. Okay, I just sat here and laughed about that for like 2 minutes. Anyways, so here I am giving the moth the same treatment that I gave the pinecone, which by the way is an egg. That pinecone is like a mimic egg. So it looks like the pine cones of a sequoia, but it's actually a moth egg for this giant moth with a 30-foot wingspan. So, and yeah, like I was saying, like this is like what I love doing this like storytelling part, and I do. In case you're like Annie, this sounds like a cool story. I'm like, I do have like actual books that I want to write someday that are very similar to this. They're like fictional animal encyclopedias. So I left a lot of this writing in here, and I hope you guys don't find it boring, but it turns out that a lot of the art for this art project was just me writing. So I will try to say entertaining things while I am writing a lot. One of the things that I wanted to make sure to do is something that I always do in my journals, and that is that I write over things. So, like, I don't write words over other words because that's just chaos, but I do intersect words if I have pictures, which it's me, so I have pictures on everything because constantly sketch. So I wanted to make sure to include that when I was doing these pages, and as I do the other pages for this project. So yeah, I wanted, if you're watching me write right now and you're going, but Annie, you're writing over the picture, you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, I did that on purpose. I think it looks fun. Oh, right. And I got to name it. So I was like, yay, that's fun. Yeah. And I looked up the quote unquote scientific name for Mothra. So that's what that is based on. And actually, that just made me think of something that I wanted to bring up here, and that is that I don't like to do anything that takes advantage of somebody else's copyrighted material. There is a couple exceptions to that, and like one is that I would do original art based on somebody else's copyrighted material, but I wouldn't make copies of that art. And then another one is something more like this, although this is I wouldn't make copies of this for a lot of reasons, but I also just like, I don't, because it is like my own species of Mothra, kind of, I feel less horrible about it. Does that make sense? I don't know. But anyways, I wouldn't make copies of this because it still feels like licensed material to me. So as I said, it is nice out. And
Are you
so
hiding?
I went outside and did some art a couple times in the last week. And you can hear the glorious train in the distance, but mainly I just wanted you to get to see this absolutely adorable chipmunk that I got to hang out with. He watched me paint.
No.
And also you can see why I didn't record my process. It was too breezy, and I did not have my tripod with me, so you get what you get. But I should have my tripod with me. Look at how cute he is. Look at his little face. I should have my tripod with me more from now on. And he didn't come near me. He is still a wild animal. He just let me observe him from a distance. And then I started noticing that the buds are coming out, and as I was recording this, I was like, I really need to get a camera that I can use outside that is not my phone, because I miss like having more control over it. And like, this is not like a beautiful shot. This is just like, I really need to share my day with you guys because it was such a nice day, and we just haven't had a lot of them yet. And there are such like pretty rock formations in the parks around Mankato, and I was like, I bet everybody wants to see that, right? Like, yeah, because it was awesome. So here you go. Just not really high production quality. Ooh, and this is I painted this in my first plein air painting like a year ago. This is like dogwood catkins. That was really hard to think of. So, I gathered this little bit of a cedar branch because it looks enough like sequoia needles that I can get away with it. With like the commissioner's permission, I was like, I'm gonna use this. So it was either this or like something plastic that looked awful and still wasn't sequoia needles. But so, and then I'm just painting some fine tech sparkly paints on there to make it look like moth scales, like maybe a moth brushed against this and left their scaly sparkles on it. So, and then, yeah, I'm going to tape it into the book and it's going to look cool. It is really hard to capture the awesome sparkliness on video. It just does not show up like it does in real life. But if you've ever had the chance to play with Fine-Tech sparkle paints, they are awesome. So I'm sure you understand. And if you haven't, they are really heckin' inexpensive. So I don't blame you for not getting them. Like, seriously, they are not cheap. I actually brought those paints. I told you guys I was going to do like art camp. I was going to teach a couple classes at art camp, and I brought those paints to share because I was like, oh, they're expensive. And then I was also like, yeah, but like I have a lot of paint, and it's nice to just share with kids that like don't have access to the same things that I do. So yeah, and they really liked it. So that was fun. It was totally worth it. Like, and you know, they're still watercolor paints, so they like barely made a dent. Yeah, if you were watching the video and you noticed my like 20-second pause there while I tried to think of the date to use, I was like, all right, my journal entry is dated June 15th. What should I date the date that I found these needles? How about June 45th? No, that's not a date. How about June 75th? No, brain. That is still not a date. What are you even doing? So anyways, if you're ever wondering what's going on in my head, I am probably having an argument with myself about what reality is like. So, yeah, I had a really awesome Easter weekend. I got to see my friends that came in from out of town, one of whom is the one that commissioned this piece for me, and so it was fun to see him, like show him my progress and make sure he likes how I've been dealing with it so far. And then we went to get ice cream and I fell and like it looks like a wild animal attacked my leg. Like I have just like these big gashes out of my knee. I am a clumsy ox. It's so hilarious. And here I am putting little sparkles on the rest of the page so it looks like maybe those sparkly moth scales just kind of transferred over to the paper when you open and close the pages of the book. Yeah, so anyways, but like when he displays it, you're gonna be able to see it all at once. I'm just making fanciful additions. Yeah. So that was my Saturday, which sounds awesome. It really was. It was such a nice day out, and like we walked to get ice cream, and I didn't whine as much as I probably could have that I am clumsy and like fell and broke up my knee. It's not broken. It's not. It's just it really looks gross though. Yeah. Anyways, and so then, I mean, Sunday, like I did like the sunrise service, and then there's like a pancake breakfast at church, and then, you know, there's like a 10 o'clock church, and then after church there was a lot of time to be at church. I have never been at church that long before. It was very intense. And then I went to my family's Easter stuff, which was very interesting, and I got to play with some tiny kittens. And yeah, see my family. I don't get to see them enough. Here I am in the picture drawing in a Mothra cocoon, but it's just like this might possibly be the type of cocoon Mothra has. Like, we don't know for sure because nobody has found one. Yeah, anyways, it's that kind of thing. Yeah, and this project is getting me really excited for working on my books again, which is not going to happen until at least next year. But so here is the final 2 pages. Out in the sunshine, I felt like that was appropriate. You can kind of actually see the glitter now, so that's cool. Anyways, I appreciate all you guys so much. I think this is video number 50 for me, so that's exciting. And I will be back with another video for you soon. Something. Yeah. See you next week. Bye. Oh, and drop a comment about what you like or don't like about these pages. Bye-bye.